Hi folks, welcome to my channel Westy Travels. My name's Col and today we're going to continue our Scotland's Walks and Explore Scotland series, and we're planning on a half and half walk. I'm going to do a circular walk. Hope you can hear me in this wind. It's a lovely day but quite windy. So the plan today is we're doing a 6 or 7 mile circular walk that will take in a couple of different features of Scotland. And the two features we're going to walk along is the first half is the Forth and Clyde Canal, which traverses across from Edinburgh to Glasgow, right across central Scotland. And the walk's split in half, as I said, where the second half of the walk is once we finish walking along the canal, we'll head up onto the hills and we'll walk along the Antonine fort. I'll start again, the Antonine wall and take in Bar Hill Fort. So it's a lovely day and I'm looking forward to this walk. No camping for a change. So your walk starts off at a place called Auchenstary, and it's in a small town beside called Scythe, and it starts at the Auchenstary Marina, which you can see over my shoulder back there, and it's quite a nice wee place. You can get something to eat there. Oh. Get a bit of fright there, videoing this and a bell going off. As I said, it's quite a nice little place. Obviously it's a marina, but they've got a nice restaurant so you can get a nice breakfast in there, a coffee if you want at the beginning or the end of the walk. As you can see, as you're walking along here, it's quite a busy cycle path along the canal on a day like this. There's lots of cyclists, as you can just see. And the other side of the canal, at various places, you've got the narrow boats. So throughout the year, a lot of the time you have people living on them. Quite cool. I don't know if I could live in something so small, but I'm hoping you can hear me okay. It's a really lovely day, sun's out, but it's quite windy. So hopefully you can still hear me on the mic okay. You're not picking up too much of the wind. So the walk itself starts off along this Forth and Clyde Canal that joins Glasgow and Edinburgh, and it's about 1.5 miles your first section, so you're just walking along this towpath section with the canal to your side, and then after that you head up into the hills. So if I turn you around here, you look up into the distance there, you'll see that hillside range. That's where your Antonine wall's based on, up there. It just follows the curvature of the hills from Edinburgh to Glasgow. So we'll walk along here. And once we get to the end of the canal at this section, we cross a bridge and then we head up onto the Antonine wall proper. So starting the walk along the Forth and Clyde Canal, the idea of it was to join the River Clyde in Glasgow with the River Forth over in Edinburgh. And the Forth and Clyde Canal runs along and joins into the Union Canal, which takes you all the way across and dissects the whole of central Scotland. And at the halfway point, or kind of where the two canals meet, you've basically got a big lift section to take the canal boats where it raises the boats up out the water. I think it's called the Falkirk Wheel. Your canal itself, it's not mega wide. Officially it's about 5 metres wide and 1.5 metres deep, but as you can see over time it's obviously got a lot longer and a lot deeper than that. A long winter this year, and it's so nice to come out and see all the leaves starting to come out and bloom. Finally getting towards summertime after a long hard winter. I can learn to complain about different things like it's too hot rather than it's too cold. Once you come off the canal section and you cross the bridge, come through the wooden gates, you've initially got a hilly section. It's just going to take you 10 minutes, 15 minutes, depending on your fitness. It's a zigzag, but it is fairly steep-ish, but a good path. And then it takes you up to the top, and after that it's more gradual climbing. No wonder the Romans conquered half the world. Look at the size of their heads. Can you imagine how big the rest of the body was? Quite a cool feature here. Obviously a rusted sculpture of a Roman centurion. It's been here for about 3-4 years I think, but I think it's very cool looking. Right guys, quick intermission in today's video on the walk. Just rather than leaving it to the end, I would try this and see if it makes any difference at all. I'm going to ask you if you've made it this far in the video to help the new channel out. We've been going 4 months now and we've romped right past 200 subscribers, and I appreciate every single one of you. But if you could take 2 seconds out of your busy day and help the channel out and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see if this appeal makes any difference at all and we get a few more subscribers for the channel, and it'll help me up get to that 1,000, the magic number, as quick as we can. Anyway, back to the video. So in front of you, if I can just zoom in slightly, you're going to see the first part of the Antonine wall that's noticeable, and it's this big ditch running there straight up into the distance. I'll try and zoom in on the editing for you. So once you start climbing the hill, the first of the 2 Roman forts you're going to come to is CLYDE Hill, and it's situated just ahead of us up in the trees, and there's not much left of it to actually see at this point. It's up on the hill just ahead here. The second fort, which is a mile on from here, is Bar Hill Fort, and you can still see the structures of all the barracks and the water well and various other structures. It's fairly easy, but this one there's not much to it. They just have obviously excavated in the past and have found some items and various other things that lets them know the fort was here, because they tended to be situated every mile along it. So as you can see, that's us on the CLYDE Hill Fort, and there's not much to it. You've just got some remnants of old barracks and stoneworks on it, and it spreads right into the distance up here. It's just situated under these trees with a nice view for the Roman soldiers when they could see it one time a year and it wasn't like misty and rainy and snowing in Scotland. So we'll crack on up to the second fort and we'll give you a bit of the history of the Antonine Wall. So let's have some fun facts and history about the Antonine Wall. So your Roman forces had landed in Britain and they pushed as far north as your present day English-Scottish border. And there, once they arrived under Adrian the Emperor, they decided to build themselves a wall that ran from the east coast to the west coast. And this wall was an impressive structure, 5 metres high and 3 metres thick at some points, and ran all the way from the east coast to the west coast. But under the Emperor Antonine, they decided to push a bit further forward into Scotland, present day Scotland, and they came 100 miles north. And at this point in central Scotland, it's the narrowest point, and they decided to build the Antonine Wall in the year 142 AD. And the wall itself runs on the east coast, a place called Bo'ness, right along for 37 miles to the west coast in a place called Old Kilpatrick. Now the difference between the two walls, Hadrian's walls and the Antonine Wall, is that the Romans, when they pushed forward, were only here for 20 years before they realised it was too cold and they headed back south. So what you actually have is, it's a turf and ditch wall where they basically create a 20-30 foot ditch and take all that soil and heap it above it, so anyone attacking to the north, from the north south, would have to clamber through that ditch and then up the bank. And every mile or so they would have forts and castles all the way along it. But as I say, the weather was just a bit too much for them or for whatever reason, and it was quickly abandoned after 20 years. They headed back to Hadrian's Wall. Shame really, nice views. So we'll give you a little bearing of where we are. We're on one of the highest points just now, and if I turn you around, down there you can see where we started off the walk today, down at the marina. And behind it, running as far as you can see both ways, are your Campsie Hills. So they had that extra barrier protecting them, the Romans, as well. And over behind them in the distance, which at the time obviously wasn't there, and it's in a haze today just with the sun, that's the city of Glasgow, which is 10-15 miles in that direction. So as you can see from where they are, it's a lovely day today, but very exposed if the weather was wild as well. So I don't blame them for heading south again to warmer climates. Once you start climbing up towards Bar Hill Fort, if you're planning on doing this walk, you'll come to a clearing after the trees, and you'll see this Forestry Commission Bar Hill sign. And what you're faced with is three options. You're following the path, you'll see it goes off to your left, straight ahead, or you can go to the right. If you go to the right, that's the steepest option and takes you up quite steep at the end towards the Iron Age fort on the hill. Left, I've got no idea. Straight on is the way you want to go, so that it's only moderately, I can't even say that, quite steep. So head off this way. Moderately. Got it. Once you start climbing up towards the Bar Hill Fort, straight up the hill will take you to the Roman fort, and over my shoulder up this way. So once you get to the top of the hill, you head off to the right, and that will take you to the Iron Age fort. And there's really nice views from up there. And it's only a minute or two to the side, so that's where we'll head first before we go to the fort. So we can see this hill fort was called Castle Hill, and it's saying that it was inhabited a couple hundred years BC, so basically 300 years before the Romans came along, and it was most likely abandoned by that point. Probably because it was too steep. Climb up, it's not a big climb. Once you're at the top, see the summit of the hill fort. There's a trig point for the OS maps. There's no other sign of the fort really, but not bad views. Heading straight down towards Strathblane Valley, and over that direction's the fort, the city of Glasgow. They're very high up, very protected. I'd imagine back then there would have been a wooden palisade surrounding it to protect it, various huts. So we'll take a quick wander over to the Roman fort now, which, as I say, is only a few hundred yards down. So once you leave the Castle Hill, the Iron Age fort, you head back up the Bar Hill towards a flat area on top, and this is where you'll find the Roman fort situated with various structures. They're all, unfortunately, at foundation level. It's not like one of your Adrian's Wall forts like Vindolanda, where you've still got substantial structures there. It's just your outline. But we'll take a wander up, have a look. And although it's very windy, I'm going to risk the drone and put it up and see if we can get a aerial shot. So that's us reached the top of Bar Hill and the Roman fort, and we'll take a wee wander around. The first thing you'll see is it's mostly lots of outlines, and the first thing you'll come across is the old Roman well, which is obviously grated over and full of rubbish as usual. But you can still see it. Then you head round, and again you've got the walkway, and you come down and you'll start to see the barracks and some of the other quarters here, where you've just got certain areas where it's above ground. It's mostly sections like that where you're down at foundation level, but you do have some sections where the wall still remains. But it's mostly just an outline, and apparently And here it's saying this was the regimental office in this section. I take it they know that through digging. So it's a bigger area up here, but it's not exactly like Adrian's Wall where you see great structures of it. It's more bare, but there's obviously other sections I'd imagine you could dig up, but not much to it, but still worth the walk just for the great views looking down to the Forth and Clyde Canal where we came from. We came down to the other side of the hill here, and there's a wee sign saying that we were about to come down and look at was the regimental bathhouse, and you've got the entrance to the furnace here for the heated water. So there's actually a bit more to it once you start walking around the hill. It's a vast area. You can see there's a hot and dry room, a passageway. I imagine your water passed through these sections under here. They're very cool. It's kind of terrace sections all the way down. You can see more foundations all over the place. So you've just really got to walk around, and there's your, every barracks needs a latrine. If you don't fancy a strenuous 6 or 7 mile circular walk to take in the forks and the view, it is possible that when you're heading here, rather than doing a circular, as you're passing the Forth and Clyde Canal on your right hand side coming from the town of Kirkintilloch beside Glasgow, you can turn right at a place called Twecker, and it's literally about 100 yards up. You can park your car at Industrial Estate, and then you can just basically climb up this hill. It'll take you 15-20 minutes to get up to the fort from there, and that saves you doing the full 6-7 mile walk. So you do have that option. Hope that helps. But then you'd miss out of the views like this. Come on. Who says that Scottish people are rebellious, eh? What kind of flag is that? I don't know if you can see, I'll try and zoom in. A nice Jolly Roger flag. Obviously a pirate lives in there. Very cool. Well, as they say, all good things must come to an end. And that's the end of another walk with Westy Travels. So if you enjoyed this adventure, if you could take 2 seconds out of your busy day and hit that subscribe button, I'd very much appreciate it, genuinely. And until next time, we'll catch you on the adventures. Toodaloo. Bye for now.